feedback and allows me to be fully engaged as a facilitator, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So what we've got here is we've got a little camera, and that's recording your video, so you using the prototype, but then also the audio. And so we've got some people sitting in another room just listening and taking notes, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool. And I'll also just get you to sign this here. What it is, it's just consent to be recorded, and also just a non-disclosure agreement to ensure that all information just sort of stays within these walls.
Okay. Have you had many people come through at the moment? Or?
You were the first one today.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, you wouldn't know the date, would you? Oh,
It is the 1st of November. Can't believe it's already November.
I know. Okay, that's all.
Cool. Thank you very much. Great. So when was your last power outage?
Yeah, a few months ago. I don't remember the exact date though, but roughly July happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was a bit stormy. I was speaking to Leigh on the phone how I didn't know that there was no power outage, and then I realised until like I couldn't switch the lights on. And
Right.
yeah, that happens quite often, like where I live.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so did you go about reporting your outage?
Not me personally. We have kind of like a long driveway where we shared like houses in the area, so I think someone else within it did.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. And do you know how they may have reported it, or?
Probably like a phone call or something. Yeah.
Okay. And what was the most frustrating part of your experience?
Not being able to use power. I would shower at the gym for a little bit. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How long was your power out for?
I'd say over a day, and there was like a glimpse of when it came back on, and then it disappeared again for another like 7 hours, and then I remember going to the gym, having a shower, came back, and then it was on. I was like, hey.
Yeah. Nice. And were you familiar with our previous outage app?
No.
No. Okay. And just sort of in your experience, when you did experience a power outage,
Yeah.
what were some of the questions that you had when you experienced a power outage?
When is it coming back on? Was a common one. What else? I guess, yeah, basically, when was it coming on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. So what will happen today is I'll just get you to think through a real life power outage.
Okay.
So if you can sort of put yourself back into the July outage that you experienced,
Okay.
and sort of think about that situation and that scenario.
Yeah.
And then, because we're testing this flow at its early stages, you will find that some of the links won't be functioning.
Okay.
But I still encourage you to click them if you wanted to, as if they were still functioning.
Okay.
I'm not familiar too much with this design, so I may not be able to answer any specific questions regarding the concept itself. But as we go through, just please think aloud and talk me through your thoughts, feelings, if you have any questions. And whether your feelings be good or bad, we encourage you to be as honest as possible. Again, there is no right or wrong answer, and we do want you to be honest. So we aren't testing you, we're testing this mock-up. So if you do find that there is something wrong, it's not you, it's the prototype.
Okay.
So yeah, firstly I'll just get you to talk about your experience in more detail, and then I'll get you to use this prototype imagining that you're in that scenario of your power outage. And then I'll have some questions that I'll ask along the way. But again, I just encourage you to think out loud as you work your way through.
Alright.
Do you have any questions before we start?
So it's like an app that I am using as if I had a power outage, and then just kind of talk and commentate my way through.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll just, we can start with the scenario now. So just imagine that you're back in your most recent power outage.
Okay.
And just sort of explain to me in more detail just the situation, where you were, what you did, some of your thoughts that you had, kind of from start to finish, and yeah, just try and put yourself into that scenario.
Okay.
So I'll just get you to talk me through.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I'm sitting in my room and the lights switch out and the alarm kind of went off for a second, the fire alarm in the house, and then I'm like, oh no, not again, because it happens kind of often. But then I trust that it's going to come back on. I don't know when. I'm like, okay, well, we're just going to deal with this as it comes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, I haven't cooked dinner. When it was like pouring down with rain, I went out to the garage to go get a gas burner, bring that in. I got candles everywhere. It's kind of a necessity to have candles in case it happens. I am cooking food on Bunsen burner, and then I'm just kind of just sitting in the dark, basically. Got a read book, there's nothing else really to do. Wondering when it's going to come back on. Not too concerned really until probably the following day. I'm like, oh, it's still not on. I'm up switching lights on, checking if the stove's working, no, nothing. And then so I'm like, okay, I'll have like a mop down shower in the cold, and then I'll we have a Facebook group with the community, and I'm checking like what the comments are saying, but I'm not actually reaching out myself to Victor or anything, just checking if anyone else has done it. And go to work and do my usual day. Come back, oh, it's still not on. Okay, I'm going to the gym, I'm gonna have a shower there, and and then I get a notification on the Facebook group, oh, Victor's coming, awesome, sweet, so that's going to be fixed, and then I come back and everything's okay.
Alright, great. Well, so thinking about that scenario that you're in, you've got this channel here to let Victor know about your outage. So imagine that this is your address. Sorry, I just into the Wi-Fi. Cool. So imagine that that's your address there.
Okay.
Where would you go from here?
Let me read. Okay. Residential for business. Alright. So yeah, I would just report an issue.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not so much of a phone call person, so in a way I would read it and be like, well, there is an issue with the power outage, but I don't think anything super risky is happening, so I will just go next.
Cool. And what would you expect to happen when you select one of these options here?
Okay, before I select it, this will help us in this degree. So, yeah, I would say basically I have no electricity at all. Either that, or I would go to just describe my situation.
Okay, and how do you feel about the information presented to you here?
Okay, do you have any below access problems apply? Well, none of them quite apply. Oh wait, any problems with access? Well, yeah, I guess I have a dogs. Can you select multiple or just one?
Is that what you would?
Like, I suppose there would be more than one situation. Or I guess you can write in here, right, what the actual issue would be. So it's good to have, because then you can put a bit more in detail if it's not actually one of their few.
So what would you expect to happen after this screen here? Or where would you go?
So where would I go? I guess I would select just the thing, or if it wasn't quite exactly on point, I would just, select next. What I would expect next to happen would be, I'm not too sure actually, maybe like particular call-out times, or when actually someone would be able to arrive. Okay.
So then how do you feel about this step here?
Nearly done, just a few more details. Well, I guess putting in the information would be necessary. Register. So if I haven't registered before, I'm not sure if you know, would I have like a login already in place, or would I have to keep registering my details each time?
What would you expect to happen?
I suppose just kind of like, yeah, you'd be able to log in, have your own registry, but if it's a first time user, I would expect this, yeah, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when choosing to be updated, which of those options would you prefer?
Probably email, but then if I didn't have power, I suppose text message would make more sense.
Okay.
So having them both is good.
So imagine you select text, so then show me what you would do next, sort of, in your outage scenario.
Do you want me to fill through? Yeah, sure. Okay, so I would go ahead with the steps. Pop in my details. And I would be creating a password.
Is that what you
ABC, or
would expect to do?
Yeah.
Or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'd expect to create a password for like future reference. Get me logged in. Probably not. Update me for future outages at this property. Yeah, I'd want to know. Yeah. So, what was I going to say? So I could be anybody really about a particular property, because I haven't really put in a property at all. Oh no, yeah, I did. I put my address in the beginning. Sorry, mind glitch. And then, okay.
Cool.
So I have an ID.
So what would you do from here?
I would expect an email or a text straight away about just to make sure that information was actually processed for extra verification.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd actually kind of expect a phone call, even though it said text or email.
Okay, why is that?
If it was like a little bit more urgent. So like when it's a power outage, like we kind of depend on it quite a bit. And if,
Okay. All right. So what would you expect to happen when you click view my report?
Kind of like, okay, so how Pizza Hut have it's in the oven and it's cooking, kind of like an update like that for reassurance of what's actually really going on.
Okay.
So like information received, I don't know, someone's coming out within these amount of hours, days, whenever.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Shall I click?
Yeah, if you could just show me what you do.
Okay.
So how do you feel about the information presented here?
Oh, it's right on point with what I expected. That's cool. So issue reported at that particular time. That's awesome. On our way, resolving, issue resolved. Yeah, that's exactly what I would expect. And then updates on text are on. Awesome. And cool. So yeah, that's reassuring. If I was to
what would you expect
find out more
to happen if you click that?
Probably just another number to refer to in case this wasn't quite, like updating itself or something. Well, I guess maybe not a link is working on this one, but yeah, I would expect maybe like another contact page to come up.
Okay.
Because I guess it's only as much as that would go.
Yeah.
I would expect. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So imagine it's been 20 minutes and you've received your first text.
Okay. Cool.
So thinking back to your outage scenario, is there anything unnecessary or missing from this message?
The address.
Okay.
We're on our way to investigate the main outage. But then I would kind of think main outage, maybe that's the area where it affected my home. So I'd be a little bit confused where the actual source is coming from, because I'm not sure how the system works.
Okay.
I would click the link, which would go back, I see, on our way. I feel reassured that someone's on the way, but I'm not reassured because it's not quite the address that I put into the system, and I'm not sure whether that would be, like the main source would be at Ashley Lab or whatever that was called, or if it's, someone's been sent in the wrong place.
Right. Okay, so imagine that text was for
the actual
Carlton Gore Road.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So. I would be reassured. And I'll just be watching it every few minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
but I would expect like a time frame of like, no, I would be patient enough and wait for the next thing to happen, maybe within an hour or so, or a couple hours. I'd give it about that much time.
Okay.
Before I was a bit worried.
Cool. All right. So 35 minutes later,
okay,
you receive a second message. Sorry.
Alrighty.
Yeah. What would you do from here?
Estimate time to resolve 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Okay. Yeah, I'll just click back on the link again.
Okay.
And just watch it as it goes, just following the system.
And is there anything unnecessary or missing from this page?
Unnecessary or missing? Well, it's pretty good because it's got the actual time frame and letting me know, updating me, even if it is taking longer, it is good to know. So it's like clear communication between myself and the app. Yeah.
Okay. So on the screen here, what's
Yeah.
the most important thing to you?
That it's advised that it will take a little longer than expected, and there is actual time frame when I could expect it to be compared to as it was originally. And also the dates and the time, so it's quite specific, with a little bit more detail for me to read, so it's very reassuring. Like I find like a little bit unnecessary with the update text, but I suppose if like everything was resolved, I wouldn't really want to continue getting texts, even though I did click the link previously to say that I would like to be updated continuously, but I suppose other people may actually need that in case they decide, okay, I'll switch it off. Would be easier than going into like details activation account thing where I'd have to turn it off myself.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it.
All right, cool. So it's now 7:35 p.m.
Okay.
And you've received another text. What would you do from here?
Yeah, depending on the situation, if it did resolve the issue itself, if it did resolve, I would just leave it as is and be happy with that. If not, I would click back on the link to see what's going on. That's what I would expect, yeah. So, has this issue being solved? And if it wasn't, I would, select no. And then thanks for letting us know. We'll send someone out to investigate as soon as possible. Back to my report.
Cool. So what do you think about that process there?
And then it just resets itself again. I think it's quite good. I would probably expect maybe someone to call me if if the issue had been resolved, and if it hadn't, and then it just started the process again, I've lost a little bit of trust within it. So I would expect, a phone call or something a little bit more engaging, to reassure me, let me know what's really going on.
Okay, all right. So if you could just what are some of the questions that you may have at this stage?
On this stage, so it hasn't worked. I would call again. I would call myself if I hadn't been reached, and basically I'll just ask in reference to my address what when will someone come to resolve this?
Okay. Alright, so 20 minutes later you receive another message.
Okay.
What would you do from here, or what are your thoughts at this stage?
I would just continue clicking the link. Says someone's on the way. It's awesome to hear again. I would just read through all the details, continue to see what's really going on. Same process. I would just be okay, someone's on the way, awesome, and then wait.
Okay, so 45 minutes later you receive another message.
Okay.
What would you do from here?
And the outage is 9, so quite late at night. It doesn't really matter too much to me because it's quite late. I'm probably going to go to bed now. Resolving, I would just probably be a little bit grumpy that it hadn't been fixed first place, and then I would just go to sleep expecting it to be just fixed in the morning. I wouldn't really wait for a text or anything, but I would expect it when I wake up in the morning. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so 30 minutes later, you receive another update.
Okay. I'd wake up in the morning, I would check, I'd be like, okay, it is being resolved. I'd go switch on the lights, I would go check the power, see what's going on. Say it's fixed, I'm happy, don't have to worry about it. I'm not going to touch the app again until another issue happens. If it didn't, I would be super mad, and I would call and want to not worry about the app at this stage, and I just want reassurance that someone's actually going to come out and resolve the issue.
Okay, and so for the purpose of this, say your power's not on still, so what would you do from here?
I would click back on the link. I would continue to say no. I would go back to my report.
Okay. And what do you think about what's sort of being asked of you here?
The same process. I'm not too sure really what you mean by that question exactly.
Sorry, it's more around, has this resolved your issue? Yes, no.
Oh, right. No, I've lost total trust in the app now.
Okay. And this screen here, what do you feel about it? How do you feel about the information being presented to you here?
I feel like okay because there are the dates and the times, and reading through them has given me very specific information of what's been going on. Well, not specific, but more in regards to if it's being resolved or if it's the issue is it's brief, but it's enough information for me to understand rather than specific information of how the technical side is. So that's okay with me. I don't need to know too much detail, but if it did continue to not be resolved, then I would expect a little bit more information. So this particular thing happened and this pole has fallen or a tree has hit this, I would like to know a bit more context for reassurance rather than the issue has been resolved or it has not been resolved and it would take a little bit more time. So if it continued to not be resolved, I would like much more information of what's specifically gone wrong.
Okay, so 30 minutes later you receive another update.
Okay.
And what would you do from here?
We're on our way. I would click to read more, continue to do the same process. We'll call you if you need to access property. So that's reassuring, they'll call if they need to. And I'll just be by my phone, waiting for a call if they can't quite access. And I'd continue to wait. I wouldn't really click anything in particular. I just let it do its thing.
So 15 minutes later you receive another update.
Okay. And then continue, same thing. Resolving, we're working to resolve the issue. Okay, awesome. I would, same thing, wait for the continue to get my text message.
So 15 minutes later you receive another update. And what would you do from here?
Your report has been closed. We've assisted as best as we can. So I would expect to be done. I'd go home, obviously, or if I was home already, check the power, everything, make sure everything's okay. If not, I'd be making another phone call. but then if it wasn't resolved but the case has been closed and they've done as much as possible to help, I would probably, I'm not sure how the system would work, but I would reach out to other sources to see how this could be fixed, or if it was like an electrician, I would need to come in and it wasn't even anything to do. And I would like a report though. I would like to see, like, if it's been closed, what actually really went wrong, if they can't help, how I can resolve that, where else I could go.
Okay. Alright, so that's the prototype.
Cool.
So is this something that you would use?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Much more handy than,
It's much more what, sorry?
Handy, so a lot closer contact and a lot more reassuring than kind of just waiting on a Facebook update or me having to go and call someone about it.
Okay. And did you feel like you got all the information that you need?
Yes, apart from if it continued not to work, I would like a lot more not a lot more detail, just a little bit more detail, exactly, specifically what might have gone wrong. And if not, then how else I can resolve it myself if Victor can't help. So if you think back to your scenario of a power outage, do you think that this sort of answered some of your key questions that you had? Yeah, definitely. So 2 times it went out. One for a long period of time, so it would definitely help to keep me on track of exactly what's going on, even though I'm quite patient with that kind of thing. And then it went out again, so it would help to keep me updated. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Answer question.
So what was the hardest part about this?
The hardest part, I guess just entering my details, but I would expect that from an app and needing to know a bit more information.
Okay. And what's one thing that you really liked about this?
The timing, the detail, and also the visual of, the issue reported on the way, resolving, like that quite helped,
Okay, cool. And if you could change one thing about this, what would it be?
If I could change one thing. Nothing specifically. I think it's actually quite well laid out, and it is kind of how I expected it to be. What would change? I suppose if it was something that just continued to not be resolved, then a little bit more details I would really change, basically.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. And so, what in your mind do you think might keep people from using this in a power outage?
If they didn't have data or Wi-Fi connection to anything, if it was online, so somehow, I'm not sure if it's even possible, if it could be something could be used offline. It's basically it. Or if someone didn't want to give their personal information away, but they just wanted something to do with like a phone number and an address, is basically it. Or a point of contact, so email, rather than your full name and other bits of information, but that's about it, really.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's it for today. Did you have any questions or any other general feedback about this?
Well, it's more positive. I think it's actually quite good. I would love to have an app that I could go to if I had another power outage. The way it's laid out is really good. It keeps me reassured, and I think it would stop a lot of complaints or people that would freak out. But cool. Overall I think it's quite good and how I would expect it to flow. Yeah.
Alright, well thank you so much for coming in. Very helpful, and feedback's very valuable.
Cool.
Just walk you down.